Welcome back. Well, this is a Wednesday video, so it's in between my 2 days off of Tuesday and Thursday. And what I am doing with my off time this week is trying to get some stuff done in the yard, which is why I'm dressed like this. So, yes, I know, old lady, no makeup. Oh my God, what you have to put up with. Here, my Relic Recoverist t-shirt and all the stuff that I cart with me. I just literally hook it on the top of the tank top. I love this thing. This is great because, geez, can it take a beating? And that's what I like in run around the house clothes. What kind of beating can it take? This, by the way, here, I should show you. I've talked about this before. I put little flashers on Audie's collar. I also put them on keys. It's hard to lose them. You just turn the flasher on. Here, let's see if you can see that. It's hard to see, but it is red and blue. And that's what I put on Audie's collar when he goes out before dawn in the winter. He goes out between about 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. And in the winter, of course, it's still dark. So he has to have a flasher on. He knows the drill. He doesn't like it, but he sits there and waits for me to clip it on his collar. I don't leave it on his collar because he dunks them into his water bowl and then drips them into my lap. So no thanks. So they come and go. All right. When we come back, I am going to be talking about zip ties. Okay, so why zip ties? Well, this is a grubby little package of zip ties. The baggie's really very dirty. I pulled this out of the basket of my bike when I was outside and said, gee, I should probably change this. It's filthy. So what is this? Zip ties. Different sizes of zip ties. And I keep a bunch of these with my bike. And that's when it occurred to me, I wonder if maybe we should talk about zip tie hacks. But we're not calling them hacks, we're calling them hints, because YouTube doesn't like the word hack for some reason. Maybe they think it's computer hacks, as in illegal stuff. I'm not sure, but we're going to call it zip tie hints, so that YouTube will not take my video down. Okay, zip ties. Why do I have them on my bike? I use these short, heavy, thick zip ties to affix the basket to my bike. I had no idea. I have this great basket. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to drill into the handlebars to get this thing? And then suddenly it occurred to me, you put enough zip ties on that, it's going to stay. That's also one of the reasons that I keep this little baggie of zip ties. If anything breaks down, this is like my do-it-yourself repair kit. So I thought we'd talk about the things that I do with zip ties, and we're just going to start with the bike. The basket is affixed to my bike with zip ties. The air pump for the tires, the pump itself is in a little housing, a little sleeve. The sleeve is what gets attached to the bike, and then you pull the pump out of the sleeve, and the sleeve is attached to the bike with zip ties. If I want to bring something to drink, a soda or something, stick it in my bike basket. I take a plastic cup, zip tie it to my bike basket, and drop the soda bottle into the plastic cup. That way it's not sloshing around. It stays where it's supposed to be. And then it occurred to me, police departments are using zip ties as handcuffs. These are nifty little things. So I've got a list. It's my notebook, my list. Plants. I've been doing this for a long time. I started doing this with orchids. You get an orchid, they're very beautiful, but they're on those long, fragile stems, and they've always got a plant support. And you never know what they are supporting the plants with. In fact, this. See, it's holding the excess cord. It looks like a little baby hair tie. Actually, that is an orchid plant support that I stole from an orchid, and I'm using it to hold the extra slack on my cord. Why? Because they're so fragile that, they're really worthless. They're throwaway pieces. However, my orchids will very often last for 6 weeks or a month or more, or, quite a while. So I zip tie them onto the supports. I go outside. I do the same thing with my outdoor plants. I have a little pine tree of some sort. No idea what. A neighbor gave it to me. My plumber ran over the little tree when it was a baby. It was about maybe a foot tall. Plumber just ran over it with his truck. It came up flat as a little pin. It looked like this. It's like if you turned it on the side, it looked like this. Just squished flat. It's doing fine now. And it was zip ties. I stuck a support rod in and zip tied the little bugger, and, zip ties plus 3 years is now a healthy plant. But zip ties are great for plant supports because, let me show you. I'm glad I brought these in now. If you want to secure a plant, you can do it very loosely. You don't have to worry about strangling your little plant, And if the plant is too big for that, all you have to do is just combine 2 or 3 of these, in a chain. And I've actually done that with really large plants. 6 zip ties securing a big bushy plant to a central support. I think the most I've ever done is a link of like 4 of these. They were longer zip ties, but a link of 4 of them. But this shows you're not limited to the size of the zip tie. You can actually make a zip tie chain. Very effective, especially with plants. I have lights running across the awning on my patio, and those lights plug into a cord that is on a timer and also a remote that is inside the house. So I push a button, the lights go on. I like that. And that whole setup, the timer, the extension cord, all of it affixed with zip ties. And that's how it's stuck on the awning supports. Just one zip tie after another. I found that there was nothing that worked as well. Originally, I had tried electrical tape, and I'm taping the cords, and it just got to be a sticky mess. Zip ties are perfect. Indoor wires. Oh, computer wires. If you have a computer, you've got a whole bunch of wires. You have the router and the modem and all that stuff, and they've all got to be secured somewhere. And you have your printer, and your printer gets plugged into the wall. And if you have anything else, I use digital cameras, they've got to be plugged in. I have more wires than you could possibly imagine. I just zip tie them all together. And again, like this. Now this is temporary because this is my my MP3 player. If I were doing this to my computer wires, it would be reasonably permanent. I would use a zip tie them all up, and just roll up the slack so it's not all over the place. Oh, the other thing I do, which is not a zip tie hack, but it's an FYI. I don't know if you're familiar with sewing machine coffins. That's literally what they are called. They're these beautiful old oak boxes that were dropped over the top of old-fashioned sewing machines. Around here, you can get them anywhere. I've got a couple of them, and I was able to cherry pick and get a couple of nice ones. I bypassed the icky ones and said, oh, I want the pretty ones. Sewing machine coffins. Drop it right over your mess of computer wires. I stuff my computer wires in like a mailing box, something that came in from Amazon or whatever. Shove it all in, drop the the sewing machine coffin over the top of that. Fantastic. The wires are hidden, nothing but the pretty sewing machine coffin to look at. Let's see. Oh, clamps. One of my former favorite little tools was hose clamps. I always, and to this day, I still keep a little Tupperware container of hose clamps in different sizes. Now, a hose clamp is basically nothing but a zip tie. This is sort of a plastic hose clamp. A hose clamp is a metal strip with slots in it, and you put one end into the other. Only with the hose clip, you have to tighten it with a screwdriver. And as you ratchet it together, it just tightens up. You can do the most incredible things with a hose clamp. If you get a hose clamp and one of those rubber jar openers, it's a little square of rubber, maybe 5 inches by 5 inches. People used to give them away. You'd get them for free at the hardware store, or your insurance agent would give you one. And it's like, here's a helping hand from your insurance agent. And the point of them was you drop them over the top of a jar, and the rubber would help you grip and then open the jar. If you have a leaky pipe, you can wrap it in one of those things. And by the way, I keep a couple of those in my little Tupperware container full of hose clamps. You wrap your pipe, you tighten it with hose clamps, and that'll hold you until you can get the plumber out. So I love hose clamps. But these are infinitely less expensive and infinitely less troublesome, because the hose clamp, you just have to ratchet it with the screwdriver over and over again. With this one, you just slide it in, pull, and if you're not pulling it tightly enough, just grab a pair of pliers. Easy as you please. So, poor man's hose clamp. Snake a drain. We do this with the longer ones. These little grooves in here, and these little grooves are what the little piece of plastic in here hooks into. You run this down a drain and it will pull hairballs out of your drain. It does not pull hairballs out of your cat. I haven't tried it on my cat. I don't think he'd let me, but yes, you can snake a drain with this. I've done it. It works. So I actually read about that somewhere. I didn't think it was going to work. I thought that was just foolishness, but I figured it's worth a try. Let's see. Oh. So you've got a screw. It needs to go into a hole. This happens a lot with door hinges, cabinet doors especially. When a door gets a lot of abuse, sometimes, boy, those screws can get awfully loose in the holes, especially if you're pulling on the door or if you're putting your weight on the door and it pulls on the screws and you drive the screw back in and it doesn't hold, and then you go for a longer screw and then you go for a fatter screw eventually. What I used to do was I used to stick wooden matches in the screw holes. That was an old carpenter's trick. This works even better. You pop a zip tie into the screw hole, and the plastic will conform to the screw. It'll secure it. Really works well. It works at least as well as the old wooden matchsticks, and frankly, today, these are a lot easier to get than wooden matchsticks. So let's see, what else do we have? If you need both your hands available and you're going to do some work, but you need some light, take a pen light. You can zip tie a pen light to your glasses. It won't move. It'll just be right there on the side arm of your glasses. Easy as you please. It's another one I've done really, actually all of these I've done, come to think of it. And the final one is luggage. If you have luggage that, and garment bags are like this, backpacks are often like this, there'll be a set of zippers that meet. Close them up with a zip tie. That way, nobody's getting into your luggage. You don't need to lock it. You get wherever it is you're going. You cut the zip tie. There, your luggage is instantly accessible, but you bring an extra zip tie or two to secure your luggage for the return trip home. Also, when you have small children and they have trouble with the zippers on their coats, you can just loop a zip tie right on the end of their zipper. And with a tie like this, you're giving them something they can grab on with their entire little hand to pull on that zipper. Very handy and convenient. So that's my zip tie stuff. And that all happened because I went out and saw this in my bike basket. Oh, and by the way, these, I'm not going to have to throw these away. I am going to get a sharp little, actually not a sharp little knife. You remember my pokey tool, I use that to get corks out of salt shakers. I'm going to slide that right in and lift that little tongue that goes into the ridges. Slide this out and I can reuse both of them. So on a fat one, what did I do with the fat one? A fat one like this, you can, and if you look at it, you can see that little tongue. You can actually use the tip of a sturdy knife to lift that little tongue, and you can reuse your zip ties. It's hardly worth it, frankly, to reuse your zip ties unless they are the really expensive, heavy-duty ties, but even those are cheap. But if it is, that's how you do it. Oh, and while we got this, let me show you a couple of, these are zip tie substitutes, little bungee cords. Elastic, small, very neat. And these you can get at like any dollar store. It's just Velcro. And I believe they call these wire ties. You wrap them around something and they stick. So that's what's in my little baggie that will get changed out and go back on my bike. So what else did I want to show you? I had shown you some fans the other day, and I thought, this is the one I didn't show you. Well, actually, there are more than this. I've got fans all over the place. This is my favorite fan, and I didn't show you this one. This one is an Art Deco fan. It is a René de Garam Eventail, Paris 1924. So it's an early deco piece. It's before the Paris Exposition, and we've talked about that before. That was really the birth of Art Deco. But you can see the Art Deco lines, and it has a little steel. That's this. Underneath this fabric is a little steel band. And this is what the point of the little steel band is. With minimal effort, this will snap back and forth. So why am I showing you this? Two things. This pattern on the fan is called end of day. And what that means is at the end of the day, when they were through making everything, they just dumped the celluloid, which is plastic, all the different colors into a vat and just let it come out like this. I want to show you a picture of some glass that was end of day. They did this with things that could be melted. So glass could be melted, celluloid could be melted, but you don't see it in stone. And I thought we would just very quickly talk about this because end of day there's not enough information here for a full video. So I figured one of these days I'm just going to stick this in at the tail end of a video. This is end of day. This is not marble. Marble is when they blended it and they made an effort to create swirls. As you can see, they didn't do this. Also, I believe I once counted something like 13 colors in this band. With marble, you rarely see more than 3 or 4. So that's the way you can tell end of day from marble. No swirls, it's just the way it hit the vat in which it was melted. That's how it came out. They didn't bother doing anything with it at all. I, frankly, really like this fan a lot. It is super useful. It's, in terms of function, it's my best hand fan. But I also like the fact that an end-of-day piece like this goes with everything. So, picture, glass, take a look. Okay, picture, fan, celluloid, marbling and streaking, multicolored, not end of day. Take a look. So now you can see the difference. Oh, and by the way, if you see one of these, and there we go, it has a little brass finger ring, a little brass cap base here. This is steel. Originally, it was all covered with fabric. A lot of times you see them just the raw steel. They were always in this scalloped shape. Celluloid. You find them, you buy them. These are very, very expensive. So if you get a good deal on one, oh, you can easily turn a profit. One of these fans in good original condition can go, depending on the design, and they all have designs on them. And again, original condition, you want the fabric and so on. They can easily go to $300. Interesting design, they can go for a lot more. So if you find one, buy one, and then use it. Okay, one more little thing before I let you get on with your lives and I get back out, go back to working in the yard again. Last time we did a real quick, let's talk about interesting words that are sometimes misunderstood, further and farther. I thought we would talk about hair's breadth. Most people think that what that means is like hair, like in bunny rabbit, a hair, H-A-R-E, breath, B-R-E-A-T-H. Hair's breadth has a D in it. It's hair, as in this, a hair, H-A-I-R, and breadth, B-R-E-A-D-T-H, meaning width. So when you say, he came within a hair's breadth of hitting me with this car, you mean the width of a hair. So how did it get garbled up with a bunny rabbit and breadth? Well, I think you can see that the concept of a bunny rabbit's breath is probably something very tall or very small, and just, if you've ever watched a little rabbit breathe, it's very rapid. I think that's how it happened. I think people saw the breath of a rabbit and thought, oh, that must be like really close because look at that little bunny and its little lungs are just going. No, it's the breadth of a hair. All right, so we are going to go out on some pictures. I have some pictures for you of Audie the bad cat. I took them when he was over at my neighbor's houses. So I've got Audie on my neighbor's porch. Please note the beware of dog sign. He's over there to tease the dog. And then, of course, he's leaving the porch and coming back home because I went over to get him and he knew he was caught. And then the following day, he's at the patio of the neighbor on the other side. And again, the follow-up picture as he's coming home because I went over and caught him. And finally, I want to show you some pictures of our littlest subscriber because Evelyn is getting bigger. Evelyn has been watching these videos for a year now, so she is no longer the baby she was when she started out. And her mom sent a couple of really, really cute pictures. The first one is Evelyn cleaning vintage porcelain. I'm telling you, we got this girl hooked. And the next one is Evelyn. Apparently she picked out her own outfit, and it looks like she probably put it on herself. So, leading out with some fun pictures of cats and babies. I will see you on Friday. Have a great day.
Okay.